My parents demanded I gift my $300,000 apartment to my sister for her wedding, so I orphaned myself instead. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I'm Michael, 30M, and I need to share what happened with my family because I'm still processing the absolute audacity of their demands. I've been lurking on these forums for years, never thinking I'd have my own story to share, but here we are. For context, I'm a software engineer who's been working since I was 22. I come from what I thought was a normal middle-class family. My parents Robert, 58M, and Patricia, 56F, and my younger sister Emily, 23F. Growing up, I always noticed Emily got more attention, but I chalked it up to her being the baby of the family. I was the responsible one, got good grades, never caused trouble, and basically raised myself while my parents doted on Emily. I bought my apartment 2 years ago after saving every penny I could. It's nothing fancy, a 2-bedroom condo in a decent neighborhood about 40 minutes from downtown. But it's mine. I painted the walls, installed new fixtures, and turned it into my sanctuary. The mortgage isn't cheap, but I manage it carefully with my salary. Emily got engaged 6 months ago to Tyler, 25M, who comes from money. His family owns several restaurants in the city. When she announced the engagement at a family dinner, my parents were over the moon. They immediately started planning this massive wedding that would cost more than most people's annual salaries. I congratulated her, genuinely happy despite our complicated relationship. Last Thursday, my parents invited me over for dinner. I should have known something was up when Mom made all my favorite dishes. We were halfway through dessert when Dad cleared his throat in that way that means serious business is coming. Michael, we need to discuss Emily's wedding gift, he said, folding his hands on the table like he was about to conduct a business meeting. I nodded, already mentally calculating what I could afford. Sure, I was thinking maybe $500 toward the honeymoon fund. Mom laughed. Actually laughed. Oh honey, no. We need to discuss the apartment situation. The apartment situation? I set down my fork, confusion replacing the warm feeling from Mom's apple pie. What apartment situation? Emily, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly perked up. Tyler and I need a place to live after the wedding. Rent prices are insane right now, and we're trying to save for a house. Okay, I said slowly, still not connecting the dots. There are plenty of rentals available. I can send you some listings if you want. Dad leaned forward. That's the thing, son. You have that nice apartment just sitting there with an extra bedroom. We think it would be the perfect wedding gift. I actually laughed, thinking it was a joke. Good one, Dad. You almost had me there. But nobody else was laughing. The silence stretched until my stomach started churning with the realization that they were serious. You want me to, what? Let them live with me? I asked, hoping I was misunderstanding. Mom reached across the table like she was going to pat my hand, but I pulled back. Not live with you, sweetheart. We think you should sign the apartment over to Emily and Tyler as their wedding gift. You're single, you can easily rent a studio somewhere. Maybe closer to your office. I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. Are you insane? That's my home. I worked for years to save the down payment. I'm still paying the mortgage. Emily's eyes started welling up with tears, her go-to manipulation tactic since childhood. I knew you'd be selfish about this. You've always resented me for being the favorite. Favorite? I laughed bitterly. At least you're finally admitting it. Dad's face turned red. Michael, sit down. You're being dramatic. Family helps family. When you get married someday, we'll help you too. Help me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. When I graduated college, you guys couldn't even be bothered to attend because Emily had a dance recital. When I got my job offer, you said, "That's nice," and went back to planning Emily's sweet 16. When I bought my apartment, you didn't even come see it for 3 months. Mom waved her hand dismissively. You've always been so independent. Emily needs more support. She's sensitive. She's spoiled, I corrected. And apparently delusional if she thinks I'm going to hand over my biggest asset because she doesn't want to pay rent like every other adult. Tyler, who had been silent until now, decided to chime in. Come on, man. I thought family meant something to you. My parents are giving us $50,000 for the wedding. The least you could do is help with housing. I turned to him slowly. Your parents are choosing to give you money. Nobody's demanding they sell their house and move into a cardboard box for you. Nobody's asking you to live in a cardboard box, Dad said, his voice taking on that threatening tone I remembered from childhood. But if you're going to be selfish about this, maybe you need to reconsider whether you want to be part of this family. There it was. The ultimatum I somehow knew was coming. Are you seriously threatening to disown me if I don't give Emily my apartment? I asked, needing to hear them say it out loud. Mom stood up, her face a mask of disappointment. We're not threatening anything. We're just saying that family supports each other. If you can't do that, then maybe you're not really family. Emily was full-on crying now, Tyler comforting her while shooting me dirty looks. I can't believe you're ruining my wedding, she sobbed. All my friends' siblings are giving them nice gifts, and you won't even do this one thing. One thing? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Emily, this one thing is worth $300,000 and represents 8 years of my life working and saving. But sure, call it one thing. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. Dad followed me, his voice stern. If you walk out that door without agreeing to this, don't bother coming back. We'll remove you from the will, from family events, from everything. You'll be dead to us. I turned around one last time, looking at my family. Mom with her arms crossed and lips pursed, Dad red-faced and authoritative, Emily crying dramatically into Tyler's shoulder, and Tyler looking at me like I was something he'd scrape off his shoe. You know what? That sounds perfect. Consider me dead then. I walked out, got in my car, and drove home to MY apartment. I poured myself a scotch, sat on MY couch, and looked around at everything I'd built by myself, for myself. The walls I'd painted sage green because it calmed me. The kitchen I'd renovated with subway tiles because I'd always wanted them. The spare bedroom I used as an office where I worked on freelance projects to pay down the mortgage faster. They wanted me to give all of this up so Emily could play house on my dime? My phone started blowing up before I even finished my drink. Messages from Mom about how disappointed she was. Voicemails from Dad about family duty and obligation. Texts from Emily calling me selfish and cruel. Even Tyler got in on it, sending me paragraphs about how I was ruining their future. I blocked them all. Then I called my best friend James, who's been more like a brother to me than my actual family ever was. He came over with pizza and beer, and we talked until 3 a.m. He reminded me that I wasn't crazy, that my reaction was completely justified, and that my family had been taking advantage of my responsible nature for years. Dude, remember when you graduated summa cum laude and your parents didn't even take you to dinner because Emily had a boyfriend drama, he said. Or when you got promoted to senior developer and they asked if you could now afford to pay for Emily's spring break trip. He was right. This wasn't a sudden thing. This was years of being treated like a resource rather than a son and brother. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls and over 100 text messages. I didn't read any of them. Instead, I called a locksmith and scheduled an appointment to change my locks. Then I called a lawyer friend to understand my options if they tried to contest my ownership of the apartment somehow. I'm not giving up my home. I'm not giving in to their emotional manipulation. And I'm definitely not apologizing for standing up for myself. I guess I'm an orphan now. Funny thing is, I feel more free than I have in years. Update 1, 3 days later. Holy hell, I didn't expect my post to blow up like this. Thank you all for the support and validation. I needed to hear that I wasn't losing my mind. A lot has happened in the last 72 hours, and buckle up because it's been a wild ride. First, let me address some common questions from the comments. Yes, the apartment is 100% in my name only. And no, my parents never contributed a dime to it. Yes, I have all documentation proving my ownership. And no, Emily has never even stayed overnight at my place. Now for the update. The day after my original post, I was working from home when I heard a commotion outside my door around 2 p.m. I looked through the peephole to see my entire family, parents, Emily, Tyler, and plot twist, Tyler's parents Jennifer and David, standing in my hallway. Dad was holding a spare key, trying to unlock my door. Thank God I'd already changed the locks. What the hell, this key doesn't work. Dad was getting frustrated, jiggling the key aggressively. Tyler's mom, Jennifer, was tapping her foot impatiently. I thought you said we could just go in and talk sense into him? I stayed quiet, recording everything on my phone through the peephole. Then things got interesting. Emily started her crying routine again. Maybe he killed himself because of the guilt. We should call the police. I shit you not, she actually said that. My own sister was prepared to file a false police report because I wouldn't answer the door. Tyler's dad, David, finally showed some sense. Okay, everyone calm down. Michael's car is in the parking lot, so he's probably home. This is technically harassment what we're doing. Mom scoffed. It's not harassment to check on family. He's obviously having some kind of breakdown. That's when my neighbor, Mrs. Chen, came out. She's this sweet 70-year-old lady who's lived here for 20 years and knows everyone's business. Is everything all right out here? Should I call security? Dad put on his fake charm voice. Oh, we're just here to visit my son. Seems he changed his locks without telling us. Mrs. Chen, bless her heart, wasn't buying it. Michael told me he was expecting some unwanted visitors this week. He asked me to call the police if anyone tried to force entry into his apartment. Should I do that now? The group exchanged panicked looks. Jennifer grabbed David's arm. We're leaving. This is ridiculous. Emily, you said your brother would be reasonable. Emily turned on the waterworks harder. He's being so cruel. We just want to talk. They argued in my hallway for another 10 minutes before finally leaving. Mrs. Chen knocked on my door after they were gone. They're gone, dear. You okay in there? I opened the door and handed her a $100 gift card to her favorite restaurant. Thank you for having my back. She patted my cheek. Families shouldn't treat each other that way. You did the right thing. After that encounter, I decided I needed to be more proactive. I sent a cease and desist letter through my lawyer friend to my parents, Emily, and Tyler. I also installed a Ring doorbell camera and an additional security camera in the hallway, with building management's permission. The letter clearly stated that any further attempts to contact me, come to my residence, or my workplace would be considered harassment and I would pursue legal action. You'd think that would be the end of it, right? Wrong. 2 days later, my boss, Richard, called me into his office. He looked uncomfortable as hell. Michael, this is awkward, but I got a call from someone claiming to be your father. He said you're having a mental health crisis and asked if we could put you on administrative leave for treatment. My jaw dropped. He did what? Richard held up his hand. I told him that unless he had legal documentation proving guardianship, I couldn't discuss your employment with him. Then he got aggressive and said he'd call corporate to report that we're enabling someone who's clearly unstable. Richard, I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. I know you're not unstable. But I need to document this. Can you explain what's going on? I gave him the short version. Richard, who's been through his own family drama, was surprisingly understanding. Take the rest of the week off, paid. Not because I think you need it, but because if they're escalating to this level, you need time to handle it legally. Document everything. And if they show up here, we'll have security escort them out and call the police. That evening, James came over again, this time with his boyfriend Kevin and our friend group, basically my chosen family. We were having dinner when my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered on speaker. Michael. It was Tyler's mom, Jennifer. Please don't hang up. I'm calling to apologize. Everyone at my table went silent. I'm listening, I said carefully. What your parents are asking is insane. I had no idea the apartment was yours, bought with your own money. They made it sound like it was a family property that you were selfishly keeping. When David and I offered to help with the wedding, we didn't mean for it to become this. And I prompted. And I think you should know that your parents are telling everyone in the family that you're having a psychotic break. They're trying to get your aunts and uncles to stage some kind of intervention. Emily's been posting on Facebook about how her brother is destroying her wedding dreams because he's jealous of her happiness. I looked around at my friends, who were all shaking their heads in disgust. Thank you for telling me, I said. But I need you to understand. I'm done with all of them. This isn't about the apartment anymore. It's about years of being treated like I don't matter unless they need something from me. Jennifer sighed. I understand. For what it's worth, David and I have told Tyler that if he continues participating in this harassment, we'll withdraw our wedding funding. A man who can't respect property rights and boundaries isn't ready for marriage. After she hung up, Kevin, who's a social media manager, helped me lock down all my social accounts and do damage control. We found Emily's posts. She'd made me out to be some kind of villain who was jealous of her relationship and trying to sabotage her happiness. The comments were split between family members agreeing with her and mutual acquaintances who knew me better calling bullshit. I didn't engage. Instead, I posted one status. To clarify recent family drama, I was asked to gift my personally owned apartment, purchased solely by me, to my sister as a wedding present. When I declined, I was threatened with disownment. I chose to accept their terms. I wish everyone well, but I will be maintaining no contact going forward. Please respect my privacy during this time. The post went viral in my extended network. Suddenly, I was getting messages from cousins I hadn't talked to in years, telling me about their own experiences with my parents' favoritism and manipulation. My Aunt Linda called my parents directly and apparently tore them a new one about trying to steal their son's home. It's been 3 days since the attempted break-in. The cameras have caught my dad driving by twice, just sitting in the parking lot for about 20 minutes before leaving. Emily tried to use a different number to call me 14 times yesterday. Mom sent an email to my work address, which I forwarded to HR, saying she's worried about my mental state and just wants her son back. But here's the thing, I don't want to go back. For the first time in my life, I feel like I can breathe. I'm not constantly wondering how I'll be expected to sacrifice for Emily's latest want. I'm not dealing with passive-aggressive comments about how I'm too independent or don't understand family. My chosen family has been incredible. James and Kevin have been checking in daily. My friend group has rallied around me in ways my biological family never did. Mrs. Chen brings me cookies and tells me stories about her own son who had to cut off toxic relatives. I'm not crazy. I'm not selfish. I'm just done being an ATM and emotional punching bag for people who share my DNA but never actually cared about me as a person. The wedding is in 3 months. I wonder if they'll still expect a gift. Update 2, 3 months later. Well, the wedding date has come and gone, and boy do I have an update for you all. Grab your popcorn because this is going to be long. First, thank you again for all the support on my previous posts. Your comments and messages kept me sane during what turned out to be an absolutely insane 3 months. I've been in therapy, something I should have done years ago, and it's helped me understand just how toxic my family dynamics really were. So let me catch you up on what happened between my last update and now. After the attempted break-in and the cease and desist letter, things went quiet for about 2 weeks. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. I should have known better. Instead, they'd been planning. Emily had created a GoFundMe called Help a Young Couple Achieve Their Dream Home, where she painted herself as a victim of the housing crisis, conveniently leaving out that she was trying to get MY home. She raised about $3,000 before someone in the comments linked to my Reddit post and it got taken down for fraud. Then came the flying monkeys. Every relative with my phone number suddenly needed to check in on me. My Uncle Thomas called to tell me about how he'd helped his siblings when they were younger, with a $500 loan, not a $300,000 apartment. My cousin Sarah texted me Bible verses about family and forgiveness. My grandmother, who I thought would be on my side, left me a voicemail saying I was tearing the family apart over material possessions. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I focused on work, spent time with my real friends, and started dating someone new, Amy, a graphic designer I met at a coffee shop. I didn't tell her about the family drama until our 5th date, and her response was perfect, so they're insane. Good thing you escaped. About 6 weeks ago, I got an unexpected call from Tyler's dad, David. He asked if we could meet for coffee. Against my better judgment and James's advice, I agreed. David looked exhausted when he showed up. He ordered his coffee and got straight to the point. The wedding is off, he said. I nearly choked on my latte. What? Tyler and Emily have been fighting non-stop since we told them we wouldn't fund the wedding if they continued harassing you. Emily expected us to cover the difference and pay for housing. When we refused, she accused Tyler of not being a real man who could provide for her. I wasn't sure how to respond, so I just listened. David continued, but that's not why I asked to meet you. I wanted to apologize properly and warn you. Your parents have been telling people you're mentally ill and that you manipulated the situation to break up Emily's engagement. They're planning to contest your mental competency to try to gain control of your assets. They're what? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My brother is a judge. He says they don't have a leg to stand on, but they've been consulting with a lawyer who's apparently telling them what they want to hear for a hefty retainer fee. I thought you should know so you can prepare. I thanked David for the warning and immediately called my lawyer. We started documenting everything, my work performance reviews, stellar, my financial records, impeccable, character references from friends and colleagues, even a psychological evaluation that confirmed I was of completely sound mind. 2 weeks later, I was served with papers. My parents were actually trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. Their evidence. I had suddenly cut off contact with loving family, no mention of their ultimatum. I had shown erratic behavior by changing my locks, no mention of them trying to break in. I was isolating myself from family support, no mention of the cease and desist being necessary due to harassment. I had a history of antisocial behavior, apparently being independent and not needing mommy and daddy counts as antisocial. My lawyer actually laughed when he read their filing. This is the weakest case I've ever seen. They're going to get destroyed in court. But here's where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned the wedding was 3 months out? Well, about 3 weeks before the wedding date, I got a call from my Aunt Linda. "Michael, honey, I thought you should know, Emily's wedding is back on." "What? With Tyler?" "No, with some guy named Brian she met at the gym 6 weeks ago. Your parents are rushing to throw together a wedding to save face. They're telling everyone Tyler left her for another woman and that Brian swept in to save the day." I couldn't help but laugh. 6 weeks. She'd known this guy for 6 weeks and was marrying him? Linda continued, "But here's the real kicker. They've spent all their savings on the lawyer trying to get your apartment. They're asking family members to sponsor different parts of the wedding. I was asked to pay for the flowers, $3,000. I told them to kick rocks." The competency hearing was scheduled for the week before the wedding. My lawyer insisted I needed to show up looking my absolute best, stable, successful, and thriving. Amy helped me pick out a new suit. James and Kevin sat in the gallery for support. My boss Richard even showed up as a character witness. My parents showed up looking haggard. Emily was there too, with Brian, a guy who looked like he had no idea what he'd gotten himself into. Their lawyer was this slimy-looking man who kept shuffling papers nervously. The hearing was beautiful in its simplicity. The judge listened to their lawyer present their case, which basically amounted to, he won't give his sister his apartment and that's not normal. Then my lawyer presented my side, the harassment, the attempted break-in, the cease and desist, the proof of my mental competency, my work performance, my stability. The judge didn't even need to deliberate. He dismissed the case immediately and warned my parents that if they continued to harass me, they could face criminal charges. He also ordered them to pay my legal fees, about $15,000. My mom started crying. My dad turned purple. Emily stood up and actually screamed, "This is all your fault. You've ruined everything." The judge banged his gavel. "Young lady, one more outburst and you'll be held in contempt." Brian looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. As we were leaving the courthouse, Emily ran up to me in the parking lot, Brian trailing behind her looking uncomfortable. "Are you happy now?" she screamed. "Mom and Dad spent everything on this lawyer. I have to have a backyard wedding with grocery store cake. This is all your fault." "Emily," I said calmly, "you tried to steal my home. You tried to have me declared mentally incompetent. You made your choices." Brian finally spoke up. "Wait, what?" "Emily, you said he refused to help with the wedding. You didn't say anything about trying to take his apartment." Emily turned on him. "Shut up, Brian. You don't understand anything." I left them arguing in the parking lot and drove home to my apartment, where Amy was waiting with champagne and my chosen family ready to celebrate. The wedding was yesterday. I know because Linda sent me pictures. It was indeed a backyard wedding with about 20 guests. Emily wore a dress that was clearly from a discount rack, nothing wrong with that, but knowing Emily, it must have killed her. Brian looked miserable. My parents looked defeated. But here's the best part. Linda overheard Mom telling someone that they're now in debt from the lawyer fees and might have to sell their house to downsize. The same house they've lived in for 30 years. The house Emily assumed she'd inherit one day. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? As for me, I'm thriving. My relationship with Amy is going great. She's actually moving in next month, and yes, she's paying her fair share of expenses because that's what adults do. My friend group has become even tighter through all of this. Work is going well. I even got promoted to team lead with a nice salary bump. Mrs. Chen has adopted me as her unofficial grandson and teaches me to cook traditional Chinese dishes every Sunday. I've had several family members reach out to apologize for believing my parents' version of events. Some of them I've forgiven and we're slowly rebuilding relationships. Others, especially those who were particularly nasty, remain blocked. My parents, still blocked. Still no contact. They apparently tell people I'm dead to them, which is fine because they've been dead to me since the moment they threatened to disown me for not giving away my home. Emily. I hear through the grapevine that she's already fighting with Brian about money. Apparently, she expected him to fund the lifestyle Tyler's family would have provided. Brian, who works retail, is not meeting those expectations. I give the marriage 6 months, tops. Sometimes I feel sad about losing my biological family. But then I look around at the people who actually love and support me, not for what I can give them, but for who I am, and I realize I didn't lose anything. I gained everything. To everyone in similar situations, you don't owe anyone your hard-earned success just because you share DNA. You're not selfish for protecting what you've worked for. You're not cruel for setting boundaries. And you're definitely not crazy for refusing to be treated like an ATM. Thank you all for following this journey. I never expected my life to implode and rebuild itself because I refused to give away an apartment, but here we are. And honestly, I've never been happier. Oh, and one final thing. Remember that Reddit post Emily made trying to get sympathy? Someone found it and linked it to my story. The comments are brutal. My favorite one. So let me get this straight. You wanted your brother's apartment for free, tried to have him declared mentally incompetent when he said no, and now you're married to a stranger and broke? Sounds like the right person got the apartment. Karma really is beautiful sometimes. Living well is the best revenge, and I'm living very, very well. Edit. Since people are asking, yes, this is real. Yes, I have all the documentation. No, I won't be sharing identifying information. And yes, Mrs. Chen's dumplings are absolutely incredible. To those saying I should forgive my family, forgiveness doesn't mean accepting abuse. I've forgiven them for my own peace of mind, but that doesn't mean I'll ever let them back into my life. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. And to my family members who I know read Reddit and will probably find this, I said what I said. The apartment is still mine. And no, you're still not invited to the housewarming party Amy and I are planning.